Okay, as we continue with material from Chapter 7, we're using the Math Zone Additional Exercise booklet for Math 1109. Again, in our other videos, we covered Chapter 5, 6, and we're doing items now from Chapter 7. We still have Chapter 10 to do, but we're going on to topic 6, which is, again, working with equations, rational equations that are in the form of fractions. Now, there is a special case that all of these equations relate to, and I have that here in the middle. And this is the general setup for a proportion, that A is to B as C is to D. And one of the things they tell us about a proportion is that we can cross multiply and get AD equals BC. Now, if three of these items are numbers, we're just left with one letter that's now without fractions, so to speak, and then we solve for that missing letter. As we see here, we have three numbers and just one letter. So we're going to cross multiply, and today I did bring a calculator, so this would be 13x equals 4 times 39, which is 156, and then we divide both sides by 13, and we get x equals 12. On some of these where the numbers aren't too big, you probably could do it without a calculator. So going on to example 2, again, we're going to cross multiply, and we get 9y. And then we get 2 times y is 2y plus 8. Now we transpose the y, and we get 7y. Equals 8, and then we divide both sides by 7, and we get y equals 8/7. Going on now to number 3, again, we're just going to cross multiply. This is going to be 9z minus 72 equals 5z minus 20. Again, we're going to transpose. On this side, this becomes a negative 5z, so this will be 4z equals, we transpose this is going to become a positive 72, and this becomes then a 52, and we divide both sides by 4, z equals 13. Kind of ran out of room there a little bit. Again, we're cross multiplying. This is 3y equals 4y plus 6. And we want to keep our y's positive, so we transpose this way, and we end up with a y by itself is a negative 6. Okay, so once again, this is a modification a little bit of what we were doing before, in that we have a proportion, two fractions, and going back to some of the terminology, we say that the A and the D are the extremes, and B and C are the means. And we say the product of the extremes equals the product of the means, or that this statement is true. Now, as we continue on that worksheet of exercise 7.6, we did the proportions, and now they're giving us some word problems. And what I did is I sat down with these word problems, read them over, looked at them, read them over again. Sometimes I made a picture, a diagram, a chart. But what I had to do is to convert what is in English here to something that is in algebra. So that's a challenge. So let's take a look at this and see what we can come up with. It says 12 times the reciprocal of a number. Well, if n is going to be the number, what's the reciprocal of n? So n is the number, and that's over 1, remember. What would be the reciprocal of n? And we said before the reciprocal of it, and I shouldn't put an equal sign there, is something we're going to multiply n by so that it equals 1 over here. So that's going to be 1 over n. So the reciprocal of a number, there's the number, and there is its reciprocal. That's key. So as we convert this, it says 12 times the reciprocal of a number. Well, 12 times the reciprocal of 1 over n will be 12 over n, because 1 over n times 12 is 12 over n. So that's sort of what we need, and we don't at this time need that. So the first part, 12 times the reciprocal of a number. There's the reciprocal of a number. We're going to multiply it by 12. It ends up as 12 over n. Is, and then we introduce the equal sign. I just put that in there to save a little writing. 8 times the reciprocal of 6. Well, here is 6. What is the reciprocal of 6? Well, 1 over 6. So that would equal 1 over there. It's reciprocal. But what is 8 times the reciprocal of 6? Well, here's the reciprocal of 6, and if we times that by 8, it just becomes 8 over 6. And there is our little equation. Again, it took a little time to figure out the words, convert it into something meaningful, and then there's your equation. Now, as you get the equation, it's going to be 8n equals 6 times 2 is 12, and 1 is 72. And now we divide both sides by 8, and n equals 9. All right, here's another one. And again, when you're doing word problems, you have to read it more than once to truly understand the nuances in the example. So, if one more than 3 times a number, let's just figure that out. One more than 3 times a number. Well, we're going to let n equal the number. 3 times the number is 3n. 3 times the number, and one more than that. So this is one more than 3 times the number, just that. Now, is divided by the number. So it's going to be divided by the number. The results are 4/3. So again, it's not that difficult, but you have to read it carefully and see what you come up with. And hopefully it's something like this. Now you could have used X for the number or any letter generally, but N is nice. So here we're going to still cross multiply, and we get 4n equals 3 times 3n is 9n plus 3. So 4n, that looks good. So now we divide, well, we need to get all our terms on one side. 4n subtracted from here gives us 5n, and this gives us a -3 on this side. So we're going to divide both sides by 5, and we get n equals a -3/5.